From the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Hey folks, good morning. James Azar here. Hope you had a great weekend. I hope you're ready for this short and yet very busy week. At the end of this week is the festive of all holidays of the year, beautiful Christmas. Before we get started on today's podcast, though, folks, I want to ask you to quickly, please subscribe to our podcast. If you're watching us on YouTube now, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and get our practitioner brief. A lot of great changes coming. I'll get that here over the course of the week. I'll break you down a little bit of what we're going to be doing effective January on the practitioner brief. Specifically here, we're going to be making some, I don't want to say significant changes, but some really visual and creative changes as well with our content and with our sources and so forth, and stuff that you'll definitely want to be a part of. You can get our entire practitioner brief on our website at cyberhubpodcast.com, including all of our podcasts. We've wrapped up the podcast for the end of this year. I'll be going live on LinkedIn though on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day and New Year's Eve as well. People will be joining me. We'll be having a conversation. So if you want to spend an hour and just hang out AMA style, you can do that as well. Now let's get right into today's practitioner brief. It's been a really busy week last week. The weekend really did not slow down speculation. Obviously, if you live in the Twitterverse, then you know what's going on there. I can't spend more than 15 minutes on Twitter. It drives me insane. It's a rabbit hole. So let's get right into today's headlines, where the Pentagon plan on the cyber split is drawing strong Hill criticism. We'll talk about that. VMware and Cisco reveal their impact of the Solarwinds incident. Iranian hackers are targeting Israeli companies with a Pay2Key ransomware, and NSA's warning of hacking tactics that can target cloud resources. So let's start off with news from our nation's capital. Beyond the $900 billion bailout, whatever, coronavirus relief bill, whatever they want to call it, there's more unease going on there, as the Pentagon is proposing to end an arrangement in which a single military officer leads two of the nation's main cybersecurity orgs, a move that some, including a leading Democrat, said makes them profoundly concerned. Rep. Adam Smith, who's the chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, said in a letter to Acting Defense Secretary Chris Miller that he objects to the way the Pentagon is going about splitting off U.S. Cyber Command from the NSA. Both organizations are currently headed by the one, the only, the great, the Army General Paul Nakasone, an arrangement known as dual hatting. Smith was referring to revelations that a group of nation-state hackers gained access to U.S. government computer systems and likely purloined a trove of delicate secrets over a month-long period. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo believes it is to be Russia. President Trump is arguing that it's China. I've already stated my point on this one. A U.S. official has confirmed Saturday that the Pentagon has the plan to split the two heads. And there's aspects of this that people are questioning. I personally think it's not a bad move to actually split Cyber Command from NSA at some point or another. We do need to rethink how we do cybersecurity in our nation as a whole. And so General Nakasone, by the way, is an amazing human being who I've had the opportunity to meet several times. The man is dedicated to his mission. And so, but it's a lot of work for one person to head two agencies, especially two significant agencies like Cyber Command and NSA. Although they do work in tandem many a times, sometimes having two heads might be able to provide a little bit more security, a little bit more different thinking as well. So VMware and Cisco have both shared information on the impact of the SolarWinds incident, and VMware has responded to reports that one of its products was exploited in the attack. The advisory published last week by the NSA warned that malicious actors have been abusing trust in federated authentication environments to access protected data. In the advisory, the NSA mentioned another recent advisory, one focusing on a Russian state-sponsored hackers exploiting CVE 2020-4006, a recently patched vulnerability affecting the VMware Workspace ONE access that we reported on earlier this month. CISA also reported last week that it found evidence that a compromised SolarWinds Orion platform may have not been the only initial access vector, but that there are others. Security blogger Brian Krebs also reported learning from sources that the SolarWinds attackers also exploited the VMware flaw. The NSA has not confirmed those connections, although Brian is rarely wrong on this stuff. And VMware said in a statement published on Friday that it has not received any information about CVE 2020-4006 being exploited in conjunction with the SolarWinds supply chain compromise. Cisco's also confirmed last week it's identified the malicious software on a small number of lab environments and a limited number of employee endpoints. The networking giant said it does not use SolarWinds solutions for monitoring or managing its enterprise network, and it's found no evidence that its offers or products were impacted. Microsoft has also confirmed that it's detecting the malicious SolarWinds binaries on its own system last week, but claimed it found no evidence that its system were abused to target others. Although in several of the incidents, including SolarWinds Office 365, was compromised as a result of that. So something there to keep in mind. The attribution game continues. I've said my piece last week, and I'm not going to go any further with it. Once we have and we're presented with more evidence, I'll either retract my statement and apologize, or I'll either get a bunch of hand claps that I was correct. Until then, we'll just stick to what we know. And right now, attribution seems to be divided. We know that I've spoken to several people who are part of the investigation who've also said that attribution is being divided. Simply, a lot of different tools were being used in this one. Some point to Russia, some point to China, some point to malicious threat actors. So, and one thing we do know is all these tools are being sold all over the net, and anyone can acquire them and point the finger at someone else. So something to keep in mind. Let's move to the Middle East, where Iranian hackers are targeting Israeli companies with Pay2Key ransomware. Israel, since the death of the father of the nuclear plan, Mohsen Farizadeh, has been under a significant cybersecurity threat, with one of the largest insurance companies being held at ransom and the data being leaked by the attackers to the media just right out there. Israeli company ClearSky and our friends over Ohad Zeidenberg and his team reported over the weekend that they've observed the operation of Pay2Key, and the attackers appear to be the work of an Iranian state-sponsored threat actor called Fox-Kitten. The activity associated with Fox-Kitten is set to represent a collaboration between two known state-sponsored Iranian group, APT-33. It's got a bunch of names. Refined Kitten and Oil Rig APT-34, or also known as Greenbug. The adversary was observed targeting enterprise VPNs for intrusion, as well as the F5 network's big IP application delivery controller, all major vulnerabilities. Vulnerabilities targeted in these attacks against Israeli organizations is the Pulse Secure, Fortinet, FortiIS, Palo Alto's Network VPN, Citrix NetScaler, and the F5 Big IP. Microsoft Exchange Server and RDP accounts were also targeted as part of the Iranian groups. So we're starting to see the scales change. We saw, and the scales change, and the precedent is set, folks. I can knock out your scientist, or I can shoot out a drone out of the sky, and I'll attack you in the cyberspace. And that's a key aspect here, folks, because as we talk to our boards, as we start to plan, we have to start understanding that if we're part of any supply chain of any infrastructure, we're bound to be targeted in the future. Our final story is the NSA has issued a warning about 2 hacking techniques that could allow threat actors to access cloud resources by bypassing authentication mechanism. The warning comes obviously after a busy week. Pompeo, in a statement, has obviously talked a little bit about this. The NSA advisory did not specify whether nation-state actors were behind this specific attack. However, initial access can be established through a number of means, whether they are or are not. The 2 techniques described by the NSA invoke hacking of cloud resources using either compromised authentication tokens or through compromised system administration accounts in the Microsoft Azure platform. The agency adds, however, that these techniques can be replicated in other cloud platforms platforms, including AWS, GCP, and many, many others. The NSA notes that the latest alert builds on previous warning about techniques that Russian-linked hackers were using to exploit a vulnerability of several VMware products. The company has since issued a fix for these bugs, and users are encouraged to apply it as soon as possible. Again, really, really important. The attackers can't steal credentials or private keys that are used to sign security assertion markup language, tokens used for authentication or authorization between cloud service providers and its tenant or users, the NSA notes. The second aspect, where threat actors use compromised admin accounts to assign credentials to cloud application services, the actors then call for application credentials to gain automated access to cloud resources, according to the NSA. That's it for our practitioner brief here today, folks. Short week. Again, we'll be here until Wednesday. On Thursday, I'll be doing a LinkedIn Live on Christmas Eve, and Christmas Day, I'll also be doing a LinkedIn Live. So if you're alone this holiday season, if you're going to be spending Christmas Day in quarantine, responsible, staying away maybe from some of your family and loved ones as a precaution because of COVID, you can join us on a LinkedIn Live on Christmas Day morning. We'll be opening presents. I won't be, obviously, but many other people will, and we'll be talking a little bit about that. So you can join us there and just come hang out as we wrap up the year here. That's it for us here today, folks. I'll be back with more tomorrow. Until then, stay healthy, stay safe, Merry Christmas, and stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to on social and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.